All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Our first question is from Spencer Nussbaum from the Next. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hey, Coach. How's it going today?
It's going well. How are you?
Doing well. For the first week or so, we've talked a lot about the guards. I'm curious still where you envision kind of Cheyenne and Tiana's roles on the team and whether you've started formulating yet what the starting lineup might look like.
I would say from a role perspective, I think Tiana, we call her like a action lubricator, which sounds strange, but she's a basketball player. She understands spacing. She understands moving from one action to the other. And whatever team she's on functions at a high level. It's like having a bit of a point forward, not that she's going to bring the ball down the court a ton, but she just knows how to play. And she gives us that spacer at the four that we haven't had. And so she's shooting the basketball well, she's sharing it well, and she's a good leader. So really, really excited with her. Cheyenne is just working her way back into shape, was playing her butt off in France, but came back in February and has been training and all of that, but, kind of getting back in game shape. I think she's gotten a little better each day for us. Hasn't made threes yet, but is taking good shots, and we're going to let her shoot up from three. So I just think both of those guys give us something, either a stretch five, stretch four that we haven't really had since we had Breland. And even with her, she was more of a 17-foot spacer than she was a 3-point shooter. So as far as lineups, no, we're not prepared to say this is what our starting lineup is going to be. And it just has to continue to unfold. My guess is ultimately Tiffany Hayes is going to be in our starting lineup. And right now she's playing in the Spanish final. So, we will probably mix it up in our preseason game from one quarter to the next and just continue to evaluate, but we are going to start to keep, our top 8 or 9 together as much as we can in practice to give them a lot of reps with one another and then see how that plays out.
Raphael Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. It's Raphael from the 3-point conversion. Coach just talked about Tiana and Cheyenne's role. Would everybody combine with Elizabeth and Monique and even Lindsey, just with the front court? How good can this front court be with the versatility you have now?
Yeah, really like the versatility. Like that, it's probably our best offensive group we've had, but we have great energy from that group as well. You can count on the energy that Monique brings. She just, the pressure she puts on the defense, just rim running and getting on the offensive glass. She's gotten to where she understands defensive positioning a whole lot better and does a better job in all her ball screen coverages and things like that from year to year here. And then Elizabeth's just kind of like the engine that, could, like, she just does all the little things. She blocks shots. Ari had a bit of a welcome to the WNBA moment where she drove down and thought she had a clean left-handed layup, and Elizabeth sent it in about the third row. So, we have versatility offensively and defensively with that group. We just have to do a good job because our guards are so explosive and our guards can go create their own shots. We have to make sure that we're sharing it with our bigs. Those guys are all capable of scoring. And so the ball has to move. And so, at any point, any of our guards can go create a shot, but they need to use these guys. That's part of this learning process right now is that, it's Elizabeth on the roll, it's Monique on the roll, it's Tiana on the pop, it's a mixture, it's give the ball to Cheyenne in the post and let's space out. And so, I think it's learning to play together, and that's just going to be a big part of it. You just can't put this many new pieces together and expect it to look perfect all the time. But continuing to challenge them to play hard all the time, to cut hard, to defend on every possession. If we do the little things, those things will work themselves out over time.
Go back to Spencer Nussbaum. Go ahead, Spencer.
Sure. So again, you've talked about like stretch bigs, having stretch fours, stretch fives. Do you envision their opportunities from outside to come more from like the pick and pop, or are you looking to involve them in other ways?
Well, I think one of the things is you always have pressure on the defense from the trail three. If we're playing fast, those guys are going to walk into threes in the trail spot. It's just I mean, no matter how good Elena Deladon is, and how much of a focal point she is, you know, she walks in to 3-point shots in that trail spot simply because if teams get downhill, that's kind of what you give up at times. And so, you know, I think they're going to first and foremost get them in that trail spot if we're continuously putting pressure on the defense in transition. They will get them in the pick and pop. They will get them in an ice pop if we're going against ice teams. And they're going to get them in spacing situations. You know, we now have the ability to just, you know, get them the ball on kickouts, you know, and before we would kick out and then we'd have to make the next pass and get into the next action. You know, I think now, I mean, you know, you're going to run at Tiana the same way you're going to run at Shakina Strickland, you know, like she will create openings for our guards to touch the paint simply because she's going to make threes if you leave her. So, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, yeah, we may ultimately, you know, build in some little on big, you know, pin downs and things like that. Like teams do with Stewie but right now, you know, it's kind of the basics, the pick and pop, the trails, the spaces, you know, as opposed to like running them off we're not staggering for them yet. So, you know, it's not hard to get big shots at the arc usually.
Gabe Ibrahim, go ahead.
This is Gabe Ibrahim from Her Hoops Stats. You were talking about how chemistry is going to be the biggest challenge for you guys, and obviously you guys have a ton of new pieces. How has that been working on court so far? Have the players been like oversharing? You know, how's that dynamic been on court so far?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. You know, I think at times we've been really happy with our focus of more shots, you know, 1 to 5 feet and threes, you know, getting to league averages in those two spaces and, you know, getting to more catch and shoot shots rather than, you know, being the league leaders in shots off the bounce. And we've got a lot of players that are pretty good off the bounce in terms of taking shots. And so we certainly we still feel like as we stat, you know, obviously we haven't statted today, but going into our day off, you know, having 3 practices, you know, and we thought our biggest, you know, weakness coming out of those 3 days or something that we really wanted to still focus on was our assist percentage, you know, and that goes to, you know, you're not going to get necessarily assist if we're driving to the basket and shooting layups. But then on the flip side, you know, you're thinking, what kind of defense are we in if we're letting people run to the rim and get easy baskets to the rim? And so there's always that push-pull from the offensive defensive side. But I think they're seeing, I mean, I think they understand now how good a shooter Tiana is. And so, you know, they're not going to miss her on the pick and pop. They're not going to miss her in those situations, but it still takes time, you know, and when you're aggressively hunting, you know, paint touches, it's figuring out, you know, spacing and figuring out where the windows are to get the ball out of the paint to hit your shooter. So, you know, we still have some work to do. You know, we're always going to be in that analyzing mode of, okay, good decision, not good decision. We touched the paint here. What happened? You know, and that's how you teach in this league. I mean, you have to teach with film. And so they see it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to break it down. But when they see it, it makes more sense to them.
Great. We'll go back to Raphael Haynes for the last question. Go ahead.
Coach, on Tuesday, we talked about Odyssey and Aries defense, even Tip's defense. But now with adding Cheyenne, just spoke about Monique with Elizabeth. Can this defense be the biggest strength of this team this year?
You know, I think it's funny. We still have some work to do in terms of creating that identity. You know, Elizabeth's always going to give you both rim protection as well as someone who is always going to be dialed into game plans and understand tendencies and those type of things. So I think where our strength can come is the depth of our pressure, you know, being able to keep constant pressure on the basketball. And I do think this, I can tell you that when Ari gets up and guards hard and Odyssey gets up and guards hard, guess what? Courtney starts to guard harder too. And Kennedy starts to guard harder too. Like when the point of attack, when the person that sets the tone of your defense is getting after it, you know, everyone behind them has to kind of slap the floor and take on that same attitude and energy at that end of the floor. And so, you know, I think that's the beauty of this is that we have 2 players that really, really get it at the point of attack. You know, and I'll never question Tiffany's like, you know, ability to guard people. But I mean, I think that makes a difference. I mean, when you see somebody getting after it in front of you, that makes you step up your pressure a little bit more. So, I mean, we've got to be better in schemes and recovery and cross screens and pin downs and all of that action, but I definitely think that we have to be better than we were a year ago. Will we be the number one team in the league? I don't know why we couldn't. I'm not saying that, that isn't always going to be our goal. I mean, but at this point, it's incrementally better. Are we better today than we were yesterday?
All right, thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Hear me?
If you can.
Perfect.
All right, we've got Cheyenne Parker here. If you have a question for her, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll go ahead and start with Danny Thompson. Go ahead, Danny.
Cheyenne, Danny Thompson with the 3-point conversion. I've asked this of players that are coming over from overseas on new teams. Do you have a chance to talk to the coaches to kind of prep you before you show up? Like, for example, you just got from overseas. Did any of from Atlanta give you any type of the coaching schemes or things that you'll be working on to kind of catch you up a little bit to speed since you're out the first couple of days?
I mean, I reached out way ahead of time, just from experience as being a vet. I knew that to reach out to the coach directly and ask for an idea of what I will have to do in my position, as far as where I'll be positioned, where I'll catch the ball, what type of plays we'll be running, things like that. And the coaches were really communicative and helpful with that.
Next question's from Spencer Nussbaum from the Next. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hey, Cheyenne, how you doing?
Hey,
So I guess I'd like to start talking about maybe more of your perimeter outside game. Obviously, that's come along in the past few years, steadily gotten better. I'm curious if you envision yourself taking more pick and pop shots this year than in the past, and maybe how your 3-point opportunities will look different than it looked in Chicago.
yeah, that's what Nicki really emphasized a lot. Just so far in training camp, just how Tiana and myself are 3-point shooting threats. So we have a lot of opportunities for pick and pop or the roll and rise, filling behind, spacing out, just creating more space for our guards to penetrate and fish. Very excited to have more opportunities around the perimeter this season and just continue to expand my game.
Go back to Danny Thompson. Go ahead, Danny.
Cheyenne, quick follow-up. Coach had mentioned defense and versatility. That's something you've shown a lot of in Chicago. For the people in Atlanta who've never seen you play before, getting used to your game, how important is it to be defensive and also versatile at your position at this point in your career?
It's super important. I want to be able to guard every position on the floor. We have to switch in the late shot clock. I want to be able to handle that, and as well as being able to guard the best post player that's in the game. It's something that I pride myself off of as a basketball player, and it's something that Nicki emphasizes about just us having a very defensive mindset, and just being the aggressors on defense. So I'm really excited to show my versatility in every way possible.
Next question's from Gabe Ibrahim. Go ahead, Gabe.
Hey, I was just wondering, what the vibes are like in this training camp. I know it hasn't been very long, but vibes here versus your vibes in Chicago. How's it feel differently or the same?
I mean, it's definitely different. Every player is different. It's a completely different roster, completely different types of young ladies. It's very exciting vibe though. We're definitely lit. We're amplified. We bring a lot of energy every day, and I've been having a really good time having fun with my teammates and just, not only just having fun, but also getting to business, competing. I really like the competitive spirit that we have, whether it's Courtney talking smack, and us just feeding off of the smack talking, it's definitely good vibes though.
All right. Thanks, Cheyenne. Appreciate it. All right. Got Lindsey Pulliam here. If you have a question for her, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll call on you. Start with Spencer Nussbaum from the Next. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hey, Lindsey, how's it going today?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Just could you talk about the overall thoughts on, the first 4 days of training camp? and maybe what the biggest difference is between the college game and what you've seen in training camp so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been good. It's been competitive, a lot of good energy. Just trying to learn each other's tendencies and how each other plays, but it's been good energy and good tempo. I think just coming from the college game, it's definitely faster. Defensive intensity is up, and I think, it just the speed of the game.
Next question's from Gabe Ibrahim. Go ahead, Gabe.
Hey, Lindsey. Coach Collen was talking about Ari McDonald's welcome to the WNBA moment, getting swatted by Elizabeth Williams. Have you had a similar experience yet? Have you had a welcome to the WNBA moment?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've gotten swatted once or twice too, so probably something like that. Definitely, for sure. A little bit quicker than in college, for sure.
Go back to Spencer Nussbaum. Go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah, kind of just as a follow-up to Gabe's question. I mean, you talked about the defensive pressure picking up. Have you been able, because obviously you have this fantastic mid-range shot, have you still been able to kind of get to that in training camp?
Yeah, I think I have, and I think I could be more aggressive on my part to getting to my spots and things like that. So definitely different, but I can still get to my spots and raise up and get to that pull up.
All right, last call for questions. All right, thanks, Lindsey. Appreciate it.